Welcome to The Deep Dive. Tonight we're stepping into a really unsettling story. It's one that kind of blurs the lines between the living and the dead. Imagine a murder, right? So hidden, so perplexing, that the only person who could possibly reveal the truth was the victim herself. Speaking, from beyond the grave, we're going back to the late 19th century, a small community completely rocked by an untimely death, and the events that followed. They led to this unprecedented legal battle. It's truly chilling. Our mission today is basically to unpack how this impossible claim, this ghost story, led to a very real conviction.
Yeah, and what makes this story so compelling, really beyond just the spectral stuff, is its unique place in history. I mean, this isn't just some campfire tale. It's a documented case, American history, where a court actually formally heard testimony that was said to be from the deceased. It really shows this tension, doesn't it, between like normal legal rules and the power of a story, even a supernatural one. It makes you question what proof even means in court sometimes.
Exactly. So we're going to tell you the full story of Sona Heaster, a young woman whose death just sparked this firestorm of suspicion, and how her mother, Mary Jane, driven by this unshakable belief, sought the truth with some rather unexpected help. Let's put it that way. So settle in, because this story, it might make you question, everything you think you know about justice and evidence. Okay, so our story starts in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. Beautiful place, known for mountains, local culture. Today, you've got the Greenbrier Resort there, very fancy, presidents stay there. But back in 1897, this quiet, peaceful setting, it was about to become the backdrop for a tragedy that, people still talk about.
And that contrast is striking, isn't it? This serene place, and then this dark event unfolds. It's a potent reminder, really, that terrible things, human drama, violence, it can happen anywhere, even in seemingly peaceful communities, often just hidden beneath the surface.
Absolutely. So let's meet Sona Heaster. She's at the heart of this. Born 1876, so about 11 years after the Civil War. Grew up near Little Sewell Mountain with her parents. Described as, beautiful for the area, simple, shy, but captivating. Now, her mother, Mary Jane Heaster, she was devoutly religious. Yeah. And very strict, especially about who Sona could see. Mary Jane really wanted the perfect husband for her daughter, but her first pick back in 1895, total disaster. Turns out the guy was already married, had a kid, and weirdly, his wife apparently okayed the relationship. But anyway, it ended fast because Sona got pregnant after just one encounter. Now, being a single mother at 18 back then, that was a huge social stigma, huge. Mary Jane was devastated, ashamed. And then, adding to the mystery, Sona's baby disappeared before it turned 1. Rumors flew around. Maybe the child died, times were tough. Or maybe Mary Jane gave the baby away to hide the, quote, taint. We don't know for sure, but the result was Sona was seen as single again.
And it's so important to grasp the pressure here on both Sona and her mother. In that kind of small religious town, something like this would have been deeply shameful. It creates this intense need for respectability, for a stable future for Sona. And that context, I think, really fuels Mary Jane's later actions, her determination.
That's a really crucial point. So fast forward to September 1896. A new guy arrives in Greenbrier, Edward Shue. He's a blacksmith apprentice. Handsome, tall, dark, strong, charming, you know the type. Made an immediate impression. He meets Sona at the market. Instant connection. Sparks fly. Now, Edward was older, 29 to her 19, but Mary Jane, after this intense vetting, apparently asked him 3 questions. He answered right, she approved, and boom, within weeks, married. October 20th, 1896, they move into a 2-story house near the mill, near his blacksmith shop, and their early marriage seemed fine, happy, no obvious problems, but as we're about to find out, appearances can be very, very deceiving. Okay, so just 3 months into the marriage, January 22nd, 1897, tragedy strikes. Edward leaves for work, maybe 8:30, 9:00 a.m. Around 10 a.m., he sends a local boy, Andrew, who was only 11, to the house, told him to collect eggs, ask Sona if she needed anything for him at the shop, promised the kid 25 cents. Andrew goes, no eggs. And the house is just quiet, eerily quiet. All the doors, windows closed, which was weird for that time of day. He looks through a window, knocks, nothing. Finds the front door unlocked. So he goes in, still quiet, but then he hears these faint creaking sounds upstairs. As he walks through the kitchen, he sees drops of blood on the floor. He follows this trail through the dining room to the bottom of the stairs. And there, he sees this horrific sight. Sona's body, lifeless, stretched out, eyes wide open, just staring blankly. The poor kid, just 11, thinks maybe she's alive. Tries to wake her, finds her body cold. He screams, runs out, tells his mother. Then they run to find Edward with the terrible news. Now, Edward's reaction, it's described as just extreme distress, almost collapsing from shock, grief. He rushes home with Andrew's mother, sees Sona, cradles her body, then carries her upstairs, puts her on their bed. Now, bringing the deceased to the bed, that was kind of customary back then. But what Edward did next was highly unusual. Can you explain why his handling of the body set off alarm bells later?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, bringing the body to the bed, that was normal. But preparing the body, the washing, the dressing, closing the eyes, that was almost always done by the women of the community. It was their role. For Edward, the husband, to take charge of all that himself, especially choosing a high-collar dress, adding a scarf later, things that hid the neck, that was profoundly out of the ordinary. And looking back, deeply suspicious.
Right, he did it all. Bathed her, dressed her in that high-collared wedding dress, ruffled collar, covered her face with a handkerchief. Then he sends Andrew to get the doctor, Dr. George Knapp. Knapp arrives, finds Edward weeping beside Sona, stroking her hair. As Knapp starts his examination, he notices bruises, red-purple marks on her right neck and cheek. He reaches to unbutton that high collar just to get a better look, and Edward suddenly yells, "I didn't choke my wife."
Which is, wow. In hindsight, that's just a massive red flag, isn't it? But back then, 1897, forensic science was limited. People deferred to grieving husbands. Dr. Knapp apparently just kind of dismissed it, thought maybe Edward was overwrought with grief. He even thought the marks might be like love bites that Edward was too embarrassed to talk about, so he didn't look closer at the neck. It really shows how biases, even unconscious ones, can just completely overshadow vital clues.
Knapp also saw some bleeding from her genitals. So initially, he puts the cause of death down as syncope, fainting. Later, he changed it, said maybe complications from childbirth or a miscarriage, which was common then, death in childbirth, but Sona was only 19. No one knew she was pregnant. It didn't quite fit. And Mary Jane Heaster, Sona's mother, she was deeply troubled by all this. The findings, Edward's weird behavior. At the funeral, Edward was apparently overly dramatic, just sobbing, hovering by the casket, wouldn't let anyone get too close. He put this small pillow under her head, rolled blankets beside her, and very obviously wrapped a scarf around her neck, said it was her favorite, she'd want it in the afterlife. But Mary Jane noticed something. During the burial, the way Sona's head seemed to move, it looks loose. Wrong, like her neck was broken. So Mary Jane's suspicions just start to fester. She feels something is deeply wrong. But what could she do? It's the late 1800s. She's a woman challenging a doctor's official report.
Exactly. And that's where the historical context is so vital. A woman's testimony, especially if it was based on, a feeling or intuition, it didn't carry much weight against a doctor's word, a man's word. For Mary Jane to push back, she needed something extraordinary, or at least enough nagging inconsistencies to force people to listen, to overcome that societal tendency to dismiss her. Her fight wasn't just against Edward, it was against the whole system of the time.
And that extraordinary something, well, it arrived. Mary Jane started praying hard, begging for a sign, for justice for Sona. Then, 4 weeks after the burial, her prayers were answered. In the most terrifying and maybe miraculous way. Middle of the night, Mary Jane wakes up, feels this intense cold in the room, sees this misty, luminous white ship forming at the foot of her bed. Slowly, it takes the form of her daughter, Sona. Mary Jane is trembling, obviously, but she recognizes her child. She speaks to the apparition, and the ghost of Sona, weeping, tells her the horrifying truth. She didn't die from fainting or childbirth or fall. Edward murdered her. The ghost recounted the whole night. Edward got angry because dinner was just vegetables, no meat. He attacked her. She ran upstairs. He followed, grabbed her, squeezed her throat violently until she passed out. Then he twisted and broke her neck and pushed her body down the stairs to make it look like an accident. As the ghost told us, she apparently even demonstrated how her neck was twisted, showed her mother. Before fading away, the ghost begged Mary Jane to get justice and hinted about something hidden in the basement. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? A ghost giving testimony about her own murder, but what was it about Mary Jane's sheer conviction? Or the details of the story itself that somehow managed to convince the authorities in the 1890s?
That really is the core question here. It probably wasn't just the ghost story on its own. It was Mary Jane's absolute unshakable belief, combined with all those little nagging things she'd already noticed and pointed out. Edward's odd behavior, the scarf, the way Sona's head seemed loose. The ghost story suddenly provided a reason for all those things, a framework that made sense of the inconsistencies. It gave the prosecutor, Preston, enough of a narrative, enough doubt about the official story to justify digging deeper.
And dig deeper is exactly what he did. Mary Jane, terrified but convinced, had written everything down, every detail the ghost told her. Next morning, she marches straight to the sheriff's office. Now, she knew how crazy it sounded, so first she laid out her other suspicions. Edward's actions at the funeral, the scarf, the head movement. Then finally, she told them about the ghost's visit, the full story. And despite the, obvious skepticism, the prosecutor, John Alfred Preston, he was persuaded. Maybe by Mary Jane's conviction, maybe by the sheer number of odd details piling up. He ordered Sona's body exhumed for a second autopsy, March 9th, 1897. They dig up Sona's coffin. Luckily, the cold winter ground had preserved her body reasonably well. A detailed exam was possible. Edward fought the exhumation hard, but he was forced to be there. During the autopsy itself, which they held at a local schoolhouse, Nichols School, a witness later said they heard Edward muttering something like, "I know I might get caught. They can't prove I did it. I covered up every trace." This time it wasn't just Dr. Knapp. 2 other doctors were there too. They checked her stomach first, looking for poison. Found nothing. But when they moved to examine her neck, Edward got visibly agitated, very nervous, and the 3 doctors found it. Conclusively, the cause of death, Sona's neck was broken. Specifically, the first and second cervical vertebrae right at the top, under the skull, they were fractured, ligaments torn, clear signs of violent twisting, strangulation. They even found finger marks on her throat. That was it. Edward Shue was arrested immediately, charged with murder. He denied everything, fought the arrest, but they took him in. The trial kicks off June 30th, 1897. Prosecutor Preston, he leads with the solid stuff first. The physical evidence from the second autopsy, the broken neck, the bruises, irrefutable. Edward's suspicious actions after her death, his weird behavior. They even had testimony from his cellmate. Said Edward wasn't sorry at all, just confident they couldn't prove it. The defense, naturally, argued the neck could have broken in the fall down the stairs. Or maybe the wagon ride to the cemetery was bumpy. But then, the crucial moment, Mary Jane Heaster takes the stand, and she tells her story. Powerfully. Recounts the ghostly visits, the detailed account of the murder her daughter's spirit gave her. Her testimony, heartfelt and utterly convinced, apparently moved a lot of people in that courtroom.
And this is where it gets legally, well, fascinating and kind of weird. The defense lawyers, obviously, they try to tear her down, accuse her of making it all up, stress, grief. Maybe she just hated Edward. But then something interesting happened. A juror, who had actually been present at the autopsy, was apparently struck by how perfectly Mary Jane's story, the details the ghost supposedly gave, matched the actual physical injuries. The broken neck, the specific way it was done, that precise correlation, delivered with Mary Jane's absolute certainty. It was undeniably powerful. It didn't replace the physical evidence, but it seemed to solidify it in the jury's mind, gave it context.
And the prosecution didn't stop there. They started digging into Edward Shue's past, and what they found was disturbing. A clear pattern of violence. Turns out Sona wasn't his first wife, or even his second. He'd been married twice before. First wife, Ellen Cottrell, divorced him way back in 1888, cited abuse. Second wife, Lucy Twitt, died mysteriously just 6 months after marrying Edward in 1894. She was pregnant. Her death was ruled an accident of fall on ice, but there were whispers even then that Edward might have hit her with a brick, staged the fall. They also found out his real name wasn't even Edward Shue. It was Elias M. Stribling. He'd changed his identity, had a criminal record too, did 2 years for horse theft. And maybe the most chilling part. While in prison before, he'd apparently told police his life's ambition was to have 7 wives. This whole dark history just painted a very ugly picture for the jury. So July 8th, 1897. After deliberating, the jury comes back. Verdict: guilty. Edward Shue, found guilty of murdering Sona Heaster, sentenced to life in prison. His appeal was denied right away.
And that verdict really cemented this case's unique spot in legal history. It's widely believed the ghost story played a real role in swaying the jury. But it's important to stress, this didn't suddenly make ghost testimony admissible in court going forward. Not at all. The legal system mostly saw it as like an extraordinary narrative that pointed towards the real evidence, the physical proof. It wasn't the ghost that convicted him, technically. It was the broken neck. But the ghost story got them to look for the broken neck. So it remains this fascinating anomaly, a testament maybe to a mother's fierce conviction, but not a change in legal rules.
Now, some people in town were actually mad he didn't get the death penalty. A vigilante group even formed, wanted to take justice into their own hands, but the sheriff talked them down, stopped it from happening. Edward Shue didn't last long in prison anyway. Died just 2 years later, 1900. Some unspecified illness. Buried in an unmarked grave. So the question lingers, doesn't it? Was it a real ghost? Or was Mary Jane just incredibly clever, maybe desperate, using the only tool she had to get justice when the system initially failed her? What stands out most to you?
Yeah, the story of the Greenbrier Ghost just leaves you with so many questions. Did Sona's spirit really come back to tell her mother what happened? Or was it Mary Jane's powerful intuition, her fierce love, weaving a story that just happened to perfectly match the awful truth, guiding the law to the right place? Whatever you believe, it's undeniably a unique, haunting chapter in history. A reminder that sometimes the truth manages to surface from the most unexpected places imaginable.
It really forces you to think about the limits of normal evidence, doesn't it? And to consider that human element, belief, conviction, how much weight that carries in the search for justice. It's just a powerful reminder that even when faced with something totally inexplicable, that drive for truth can overcome huge amounts of skepticism. It shows how tangled up our ideas of facts and our capacity to believe can become, especially when a life has been unjustly taken.
Indeed. We cover a lot of strange and unsettling stories, but very few have this kind of connection to an actual court case, a judicial precedent, however unique. It's a story that definitely sticks with you, makes you think, gives you chills. We really hope you found this deep dive both fascinating and, well, chilling. If you are intrigued by tales from the dark side, real-life mysteries, unsettling cases, you found the right place. We're Horror Doc, your guides into these shadows. If you enjoyed this story, please do give us a like, share it with friends who appreciate a good scare, and definitely hit that subscribe button to join our community here. Your support genuinely helps us bring more stories like this one to light. Until next time, take care, stay safe, we'll see you in the next case. Goodbye.